Hi, this is Diane Mourglia-Swerdlow. Greetings again on a snowy Michigan day. I hope that you have all been reading my Facebook page and the blogs and everything else that are going on out there, because I've been telling you what I've been up to. And one of the things that I did this last week was I did a lot of cooking for a Hyperspace Oversoul training group. And one of the things that they particularly enjoyed, I am going to share with you today. So let's focus over here, because I've kind of got things going for you. I have in this bowl 3 pounds of ground buffalo, and I have added, this is pork sausage, and I usually get it in bulk, but it's a small farm that I get it from. They don't always have it. So I have 1 pound of hot sausage and 1 pound of sweet sausage. And you can mix the meats any way that you like. It depends on your taste buds. I happen to like the flavor that the different pork sausages give to the ground buffalo. You can mix beef, you can mix chicken, turkeys, sausage, anything that strikes your fancy. And I'm doing 5 pounds because I'm feeding a large family. However, I'm also going to tell you that you can do a large batch of meat and then you can put it in the freezer. And I'm going to tell you a couple of different ways that you can actually use this meat. So I mix it all together, kind of get it going, chop it up a little bit, and then I'm going to add to that, I have 4 eggs. So if I do 5 pounds of meat, I will put in 4 eggs. If you do 3 pounds of meat, put in 2 eggs. That's up to you. Then I'm going to also put some seasoning in. This is my garlic powder, and you all know that by now that I use a lot of garlic, so I buy it in bulk, usually from Frontier if I can. I'm going to put in my 5 pounds, probably around 1/4 cup of the garlic powder, again depending upon how you like your seasoning. The onion powder I haven't found in bulk, so it's still Frontier, it's still organic, and I'm going to put in about the same. Buy several of these at a time. And again, if you get from Vitacost.com and you buy over $50 worth here in the US, they do not charge you shipping and handling. Then I have from Cindy, I like to put in a little bit of oregano. Not a lot, because oregano actually has a pretty strong flavor in my opinion, but again, it depends on what you like. And I also, this is her basil, which I like a lot of that. To me, it's not as strong, and I like the basil flavor. So I'm going to put in quite a bit of that. Again, maybe around 1/4 cup. Pepper, black organic pepper. A good teaspoon, maybe even 1.5 teaspoons. Salt, organic sea salt, or fleur de sel. I guess it's not really organic, but it's a good quality from the ocean. Maybe about 1 teaspoon of that. And I like a little bit of spice. So again, from Cindy, I have organic red pepper flakes. You can also get these online. And I'm going to put in a good couple of tablespoons of that. And if you don't like it as spicy, it's okay. Just pull back a little bit, but it gives a little zing to your meat mixture. And then whatever you like for a hot sauce. Again, just enough to give it some zing. So it's not like you're making this really hot, but it just, all the flavors blend together into something very interesting that we happen to like. And a couple other ingredients. I put in this, I've shown you before, these they can get a couple different kinds. This is Jillian's breadcrumbs, gluten-free. You can get these Vitacost.com. This is the Italian flavoring. Now you can get plain, either one, doesn't matter. I buy both, I use them both. And I will put some in here. That kind of lightens things up a little bit, maybe about 1/2 cup. Secret ingredient, I use organic ketchup. This one's upside down, almost out. Just make sure you don't get anything with corn syrup. This is as low a carb as I can find. I don't do a whole lot, but it does add a nice flavoring that I like in this particular meat mixture, and maybe somewhere around 1/3 cup, maybe 1/2 cup, depending upon what you feel like that day. So that's going to be close to the end, and then it's really pretty easy to do. Then you just kind of mix it all together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to put it into some cabbage leaves and stuff the cabbage, and then I put it in my crock pot and let it cook all day long. If you don't have a crock pot, you can also put it in a regular pot, and put it in your oven at about 350 to 375, depending on how hot your oven is. And you can let it cook there. It will take it a good couple of hours, but you just might want to check on it. Now, the other interesting thing that you can do with this mix, depending upon what you like, in the stuffed cabbage, you could add around a half a cup to a cup for this quantity of meat of grain, already cooked, rice, millet, quinoa, anything else. Some people like that in there. Could even be a little bit of the corn, like I'm going to show you later, although it's a little tougher. Instead of the like garlic powders and onion powders, you could also grate some garlic in there, or you could grate some onion in there. It depends on what you like and what you have available to you. Because of my children, they don't like things in there that are bumpy. I happen to like it that way, but for their palate it doesn't work. So that's why I happen to choose some of the things that I choose so it works for my family. Now remember what I told you. You don't have to use this all at once, but as long as you're mixing, it's a good idea to make a lot. And you can put some of this in your freezer. You can do stuffed cabbage with it. You can turn it into a meatloaf, so you just put it in your pan and pat it down. You can put sauce over it if you like. Bake it in your oven about 350. And again, depending upon the quantity, you can, it probably, say for a couple of pound meatloaf, it may take it, around 45 minutes to an hour, depending upon what you want. You can also make it into meatballs. You can bake the meatballs if you like, and then add it to whatever kind of sauces that you like. Some people like cheese sauces, some do tomato based, some do white sauces. You can do that with this mix. You can also make little meatballs and drop it in your soup, and it will cook in your soup as it cooks. So there's a lot of things that you can do to make it go in a lot of different directions that help you. If you take, say, for you, by the time you get everything together, let's just say it's going to take you 45 minutes to an hour to stir everything up and to wash up, get everything out, put everything away. So if you're going to spend an hour doing something like this, make it count for yourself. If you're one person, you can still do 5 pounds of meat like this and put it in your freezer. Now, some people like to actually make things and take it out after they've made it and warm it up. For me, I like to eat things freshly baked, freshly made versus warmed up, because I think the meat has a better flavor to it. Sometimes they will tell you don't refreeze your meat. I do. That's, again, personal choice in my opinion, although they keep telling you that it takes some of the nutritional quality down. Perhaps it does, but for convenience, that's okay. And again, if you're one person, take care of yourself. And for those of you out there who want to write to me and tell me I should be a vegetarian, been there, done that. I'm not going to be a vegetarian, so please don't write me and say be a vegetarian. Because the only way that you cannot hurt something, including plants, when you eat is to be a breatharian, which I'm not there yet. I cannot live right now directly off of air. I have to eat. Most likely you do too. And if you don't see energy like I do, you have not a clue what you're doing to yourself by only being a vegetarian. You're not helping anybody but the Illuminati by weakening yourself and your body. Or if you are very, very sick and on some kind of a healing diet, a temporary diet, that's a possibility. But basically, you should not be a vegetarian, and please don't write me and tell me I should be, because I'm not converting. Not at this point. So, with that in mind, this is getting close to where I like it to be all mixed up. And I just try and smooth everything out. Again, I'm not judgmental. I'm not trying to be a perfect chef. I'm just somebody out here working to nutritionally feed myself and the people that I love. So that's what you want to keep in mind. So once you have your meat all the way mixed, then the next thing I want to show you is the cabbage. And interestingly enough, at my OMG class, my Hyperspace Oversoul training class, I had several people that said to me, oh, I don't like cabbage. But you know what? They liked my cabbage. And they ate it and they wanted more. So if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I'll do that, but I'll never use cabbage, you know what? you need to open your mind, because what is cabbage? Cabbage is layering, many layers, and it's green, it's medium green, and it represents a healing force for you. So try it. So I'm going to let this sit for a minute, wash my hands, and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with my cabbage. Now, what I have here, of course, is a cabbage from Cindy. And I've already soaked this in my hydrogen peroxide, which you know I do that with all my veggies. And I have here a pot of water that I have already made hot, but I'm going to turn it back on just to make sure. And the way that I do my cabbage is I just go right in around the core, like this. And that's going to help it to come out, because I want the leaves whole so that I can put my meat mixture in there. And someone sent me a beautiful ceramic knife. I haven't had a chance to experiment with, so I'm still working on my steak knife here. And I'm going to go down far enough to get that middle core out. Okay? So once that comes out, there are a lot of things you can do. The leaves that come off, you want to get them wilted enough so that when you put your mix in there, that they're not going to bend and break. So depending again on your time, your inclinations, you can do them leaf by leaf, which is my preference if I can, but I can't always. Sometimes they will come off easier. I'll trim off the little brown spots, put them in my water. You can also dunk the whole cabbage in if you like. I've done both ways. And I may wind up doing both ways today. It just depends on how everything's coming apart. I'm going to cut off some of these dark spots. Okay, let's get these in soaking for a few minutes. And then I'm going to show you my crock pot. Now, if you don't have a crock pot, I think they're a great investment, especially, again, if you're busy and you're working. Most of us work these days in one form or another, and we have busy, busy lives. So you want to make, again, the best use of your time with what you have. I'm just going to put this in here and get this doused. Let it sit for a minute. And just throw the rest of this in here and let that soak a few minutes as well. Okay, let's get rid of the core. Just dump that. What I do is I take couple of organic onions, and I have my crock pot sitting here, and I have read, and I think it makes sense, that it's best to turn your crock pot on high so that things aren't sitting too long unrefrigerated. So I turn it on high right away, and I take my onions, which have been sitting in my hydrogen peroxide bath, and I slice them up. And I put them on the bottom of the crock pot so that my food doesn't stick. Plus it'll give it a nice flavor, and you can eat this as you go. So I just kind of lay it out so whatever I put in my crock pot doesn't stick to the bottom. So whether I'm doing a roast, the only thing is if I'm doing a soup, maybe I won't. But just put something in there so that it's nice. Alright, now back to my cabbage. Let's see how we're doing here. They're soft enough to fill. Yeah, that'll work. And this one I'm going to leave in there. I also have a pair of tongs in case you get too far immersed. So put back. I think these are okay. And again, I don't try and do anything fancy. I don't put too much pressure on myself. It is what it is. If they break, they break. But in the meantime, so here we are with the cabbage leaf, and I just take, you know, however big your leaf is, however much you want, put it in the middle, and I fold it up like that. It's easy. It goes right in the bottom of my crock pot. So again, I try not to make life too difficult or too much stress, because life is already difficult enough some days with enough stress without me adding it on over my cooking. The main thing is the food is nutritious, and I do it because I like to do it. I'm not doing it because I have to do it, but because I want to be good to myself and my family and to the people that I love and care about. And that is what goes into my cooking as best as I can do it. A little bit of water there jumping around. Okay, So these are nice, and they will cook themselves down. And by dinner time tonight, everything will be ready. And like I said, if you choose to put green in here, I have read where that you put it in where it's not cooked for stuffed cabbage, and I have tried that without success. So my opinion is, if you're going to do any green in there at all, be sure that you cook it first and then put it in. But again, do what feels best for you. So as we layer it in, it makes really a nice presentation if you're going to serve to company. Or again, like I said, take care of yourself. Now, if you're going to do for yourself like this, these will keep in the refrigerator, and they're easy to warm up on the stove with a little water. You can steam it. You may not want to do a whole pot just for you. You freeze some of your meat. Let's go ahead and take some of this out. Going to peel. You never know with a head of cabbage. Like I said, if your cabbage starts splitting and carrying on, again, don't be upset. Leave it a little bit longer in the water. It may be a little bit done, and it looks like it's kind of crunching now, but by the time it comes out of the crock pot, it's going to be pretty soft. So just be prepared, and like I said, don't stress. I don't stress. And here you are all watching me. I still don't stress. It is what it is. I deal with it. Let's leave that for a second and get these filled. Okay, now I have the crock pot packed the way I like it. I have a little bit of meat left, and you can either, again, save it, but what I like to do, because this will cook down, is I'm going to spread it across the top and make a little bit additional sauce to go with it. When I'm ready to serve these little cabbage bundles, I will use my tongs to take them out. So this, of course, the meat will cook. And let me wash my hands again here. And what I like to do then is put some sauce across the top. Now this is tomato puree, organic tomato puree. You can do chunks of tomato. And again, it depends on what kind of sauces that you like. But I'm just going to put this across the top, and it will mix with the juices that come out and make a really nice sauce, so that when it's cooked, it's just, like I said, it's nice. If you decide to make meatloaf, like I told you, something like this across the top when you bake it is nice. So it's just going to go like this. And the lid, a little bit more meat I'm going to throw in. I don't want to waste anything. Put that on. I've got that cooking on high. It'll all cook down, and like I told you, for dinner tonight, we'll be ready to roll. So anyway, I want to thank you for joining me, and I look forward to sharing with you the next thing I'm going to make, and you'll have to watch to find out what that is. Thank you.